Well, there's been a long history of problems in the stucco industry, and that is with proper installation of the materials that we had and sort of adapting an old form of finish on the outside of a building to a modern building. In other words, we went from building houses that were primarily stone, waterproof. Maybe they had some brick on the outside, and then they would cover them with stucco. And then they started putting these products on wood-sheathed buildings and doing a really bad job of it. So we spent a lot of time in the early 2000s, I did, in the mid-2000s, between now and, let me introduce my guest, Tom Feret from Tamlyn.
Well, thank you, Alex.
Sorry about that.
You were going off on a good tangent.
I was, and I tend to do that. So I used to spend a lot of time replacing EIFS,
Yes.
EIFS to some of you, with hard coat stucco on houses, because people would call me and they'd say, man, and this is in developments that were done in the 80s and 90s, when EIFS, which is it was exterior insulation system. Finishing system, thank you, appreciate it. Which was basically styrofoam, which would be maybe 1.5 inches or 2 inches thick, and they, in the case in the early days, they just glued it right to the OSB, or at the time we'd use plywood.
Absolutely.
And just glue it right to it, and then they'd put some mesh on it, and they'd put some acrylic coating on it, and they'd call it stucco.
They did.
And in the insurance,
also back then you had lime involved, and it was a little different process than today.
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, being the contractor, I just know that the customer would say, "This is what I want. This is the look I want. This is what I want." Yeah. And I remember it's always been controversial that I remember. Okay, I always remembered that product as having some issues. So people really didn't like it, but not enough that if I had a client just say, "This is what I want," I'd go, "Okay, fine. There's some controversy. Don't worry about it." And then I'm in there tearing it all, not the houses I did, thank God, but other houses, I'm tearing this stuff off because they'll say, I'm noticing a little bit of water coming in around a window, and we go, okay, well, we'll tear it off and we'll repair it, and we get in there and look, and the whole wall is
absolutely. And with the
gone.
new building codes are tighter every 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So consequently, there's less egress for moisture and water to get
Mm-hmm.
out. Mm-hmm. So when something does occur and becomes a problem, they don't know. We don't know sometime for months on end until
Mm-hmm.
it's so serious you have health issues on top of it.
So let me properly introduce this gentleman right here. This is Tom Feret with Tamlyn. Is it Building Products? I never could get the straight name.
R.H. Tamlyn and Sons Incorporated, actually.
Okay, well, thanks for letting me know. I didn't see that anywhere. Tamlyn is they provide products for builders, primarily commercial, but a lot of residential people, because all these products sort of transition both ways. And so Tamlyn is very, very innovative in the little things that most of you don't see, the things that are super important, the little pieces of trim that go on underneath the siding that you're putting up, or the corner beads that are going down, or many other things. And you've expanded way from that. Now you've got house wrap, you've got it. The stucco is the real thing that attracted me when I saw you last time. And the stucco product's important because I keep dealing with it. After all these years.
It's going to be around for a long time. It's a great product.
Yeah.
And if you go back through time a little bit, you're talking about moisture issues. Mm-hmm. Even shooting initially with plastics, 1970s, right? We came out with new plastic products. So let's put our home, put it in a sandwich bag of Visqueen, seal it, because its energy was a huge thing in the 70s.
Yeah.
And mold mildew issues.
We built crappy houses, but we tried to make them energy efficient.
We did. We did.
We did not build good houses in the 70s, folks. I'm sorry if you've got one of them. You know what I'm talking about.
And then you get to the 90s, and then we're putting insulation, which is non-permeable, with stucco and locking everything in.
Right.
Another round of issues.
Right, and a stucco, now, real stucco is a masonry product, and it sweats, and
It does.
moisture goes through it, just like brick, just like stone. Not enough that, it's almost like a little damp, sweaty on the backside. It's not like water's running through it, or it shouldn't be, I should say.
You put a sprinkler system directly on it, you'd
Yeah.
be surprised how
Yeah.
much water is
Yeah.
coming through it.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
cementitious material.
Yeah.
And by
That's
the way, when
correct.
we're talking about stucco, you're also talking about manufactured stone. If you think about how it's applied, basically it's,
Same
as
thing.
Joe Seabrook calls it, bumpy stucco.
Well, it's the same, or as a contractor says, it's the same thing, only different.
Hey, there you go. There you go. Exactly.
Right, and so whether it's air conditioning or the outside sheathing of a house, we're dealing with moisture on every house. I mean, moisture has been my life in remodeling.
Constantly.
One
We've
way or
gone
another.
from 1x4s with just a little bit of tar paper on it the last 100 years, because wood can get wet and dry over and over, no problem. But when it doesn't dry, then we came out with plywood, then we came out with OSB. OSB is a major issue in itself, the way it's made and the way it absorbs and holds moisture.
It loves moisture,
It does indeed. It does.
and mold loves it.
And, Tamlin's been around a very long time, and we have expanded into a lot of areas. We just had our 50th anniversary
I
as
know,
a
yeah.
company,
I saw
May
that.
14th.
Yeah.
And it's come a long way from when Ron Sr. and his wife Jean borrowed $800 family money, 1971, and started this
Wow.
thing in the back of their house in Bel Air, Texas. And we're still privately held by the sons now.
And they're still there,
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and working every day.
still down in Houston.
Down in Houston, one of them is up here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's
Yes,
good.
we
That's
have a little
good.
satellite up there.
And so the big problem with stucco has always been that we went, now after World War II, they came up with EIFs, and they primarily in Europe and in England, as I recall. But it was when they were trying to repair these houses that were built out of stone. And so they developed this product that they could actually smear glue on the stone, put this product on there, and it actually helped the homes because it actually insulated them for the first time, and it would stay on there, and it didn't matter if water leaked behind it or not. It just didn't matter because it was going back to stone. But then we take that, as someone says, hey, I got a great idea. Let's do that on a wood-framed house. Let's see how that works.
Yes.
Nobody ever discussed or talked about the fact that the moisture got behind it. And they didn't, of course, they don't teach the trades anything. They just say, here, buy it. It's cheaper and faster.
And that's true for so many claddings.
so many
we do a lot
products.
with trims for fiber cement. And we work with Hardie, Nietzsche, Allura, engineered woods like LP. All of them have issues with it, not as acute most of the time as stucco. But the answer to all of it has been get an air gap behind the outer cladding.
Yes.
So that it can dry from the backside
Yeah.
as well as the front. So when the moisture is out there and the sun comes beating down and it's driving that into the house or the apartment or whatever it may be, you've got a hydrostatic gap. It's just an air gap that stops it dead.
So you have the second part of that that's super important is redundancy.
Very much
And,
so.
and one of the things that we found over the years is that it's still going to get, some amount of it's going to get there. And so we want a redundant. So I used to do 2 layers of paper. I do a layer of house wrap, and then I'd put a layer of black, like 15-pound felt
Correct.
on top of that.
Yeah.
And that would seem to solve a couple of things. And that was moisture getting through, but also it helped sort of stabilize that product. I'm talking about hard coat stucco, so that it didn't crack as much. It seemed like it really helped it with a little bit of that movement that you get in every building.
Yes.
Your products have all of that built into them. You don't have
Into
to go
one
to
single
those
unit.
in one unit. So
Yes.
explain, tell us, teach us what
So-
you got, man.
What we got. Tamlyn does a lot. You know, we have so many product lines. We've got all the trims you mentioned and everything. We've got in the water management. We do siding accessories. But when you get to that gap, you get into stucco, you get into the rain screens. We do everything from a flat commercial wrap. We've got a Tamlyn wrap drainable, which makes a 1.5 mil beading on it, which provides some of that. And stucco, we go to a 6.3 rain screen, which is about 1/4 inch. And that provides enough of a gap, if you will, so that hydrostatic gap is there, and it's wide enough that nothing's going to bridge it. And we've got proprietary spacers built into it, so that when you put the guns to it on other types of cladding at 120 PSI, it doesn't flatten.
Doesn't blow
It
through,
holds.
yeah.
So when you're putting your lath on for stucco, when you're screwing that sucker in, it's still keeping that gap. It doesn't drop. And then we've got top and bottom vents, so you get a complete circulation system.
Right,
So it's
right.
much more
right,
effective.
Right, right.
And
And the
because the
venting is so key.
It is. And the proprietary pieces allows it to dry cross and vertical.
Wow.
If you think about furring strips, which was the go-to,
That's what we had. That's
right?
what we had, yeah.
So a couple things about furring strips. Between the furring strips, that 15, 16 inches, fantastic. The furring strip itself is now a solid piece going back to the cladding. And your furring strip is not going to be the same expansion contraction on the weather change and temperature changes. So you wear out the wrap at that point.
Interesting, interesting.
Yeah.
And so your system is just sort of a sheet. I mean, it just is solid all the way through.
Solid all the way across.
Yeah,
Since
yeah.
the lath is solid, so when you're putting the plaster on, it's just a perfectly smooth finish. If you're putting up fiber cement or engineered wood, if you overdrive your nails, you get this with furring strips.
Right, right.
With ours, flush.
It stays flush. So, congratulations, by the way, because that to me is such a game changer. And the new homes that we're building, so many of them are contemporary in nature, which lends, and this is the product they want. They want a blend, at least a blend, a stucco or a flat finish type product. But the other thing is we're not using real wood anymore, as much. I guarantee you right now we're not. and so you guys have developed all sorts of products that work with things like Hardie and all these other products. Educate us on some of the things that you've got. And
Yes.
you brought some
I have
toys with you.
And for instance, we've talked a little bit about the water management side. We do exterior and interior extruded aluminum trims. So for interiors, as an example, you don't have to worry about weather issues for the most part.
So where would you use that on a finish
Well,
on a house?
for drywall,
Uh-huh.
transition
Oh, yeah,
pieces,
yeah,
for
yeah.
bases, molding, millwork.
Yeah.
And some of the new trends coming out as an example.
With the little gaps and
Yes. So for the LED lighting, right? And for instance, we're as a country getting older now,
right,
right?
right.
We're getting younger, but the country's
Right,
getting older. So
They keep telling me to grow up, but
I hear you. So, for instance, what's gotten popular in the retirement homes, something new and different, low light LED in a shadow base, so you light up the floor at nighttime on the way to the restroom, as an example.
wow.
I mean, it's
And
a
so
perfect use
you've developed a trim that lighting can go in.
Absolutely. We've got several trims that you can use LED with.
Very interesting.
And then we also paint. We match Hardie colors, Nietzsche, all the different colors. We got powder coat lines. We got wet coat lines for non-metallic. We anodize. We actually stock clear anodize and everything, but we've gotten into a lot of black anodize has gotten popular.
So your product line, it seems to me, just from my observation, and I really didn't learn a whole lot about you until maybe 3 or 4 years ago when I was doing a house that needed some of your product.
Yes.
And I bought some. You're welcome.
Thank you, Alex.
It was only one box, but It seems like your product line is really, really grown.
It has.
Rapidly.
Yeah. We only have about 3,400 SKUs.
That's
Just
amazing.
saying.
Yeah.
You know, and what I just talked about was the interior. Similar on the exterior side. We've got also the extruded trims, but every project, every remodel, by the way, remodeling has got a long future ahead. The average home in the U.S. is 40.3 years old. And there's a lot more of them than there used to be, and they're all needing attention.
Well, and I've utilized your products in remodeling, whether I knew I was or not. You know, I mean, all the venting things, the little vent strips, things like that. A lot of that you all use. The sub would.
Ventilation's another area.
Yeah, right.
We do the old-fashioned soffit vents, but we also do continuous soffit vents.
And the continuous soffit vents is what we're using a lot.
Yes.
For energy efficient homes. We use a lot
Energy
of that.
efficiency, water management, keeping the moisture flowing out of the attics. You know, there's just two schools of thought out there, the sealed systems and the breathable systems.
Right.
Both have places, if you will.
Well, and both have to be highly controlled. I mean, this is what we've learned. We've learned that if we seal up a house or let's just say a dwelling, a building, whatever it is, and we shoot foam on the walls, foam on the rafters, and we want to seal this whole thing and create this big I just call it a standing cave.
Yes.
And if we don't ventilate it properly or not ventilate it properly, that's where the problem begins.
Absolutely.
And again, it comes to moisture every
does.
time.
And along that line, all the extrusions and everything we do is based on a system that's code compliant for bulk water dispersal. Because water's always going to get behind the outer cladding in some form or fashion. Right? So we want to make sure that is at least a system in place so a do-it-yourselfer as well as, you know, a pro can make sure they can put a system up, they can have confidence it's going to last long-term for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's incredible.
And then going with not only the trims, but as an example, another siding piece. So many times you have lap siding. People put vents, exhaust vents, air vents, directly on the lap siding, and they caulk all the way around it.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Isn't it though?
It's lovely.
You know, so then you're depending
The
on
ants love it, the roaches love it, and the water loves it.
water. Just absolutely loves it. It's, so we design a flat area that they can install.
A square vent.
Square vent. We've got all kind of sizes pre-done with these, but these are water managed. If you look at the side section, I don't know if we can see that here real well, but you have this angle, so it disperses water from.
Right.
You have weeps built into both sides, so no water comes over your product. You got a drip cap built in the base. You have a top section of slits underneath, so everything is shingle style protection.
So that vent is smarter than my truck.
It is. And when you talk about a vent, we do stainless steel vents. So you ever go to a nice, beautiful stucco layout and you look up there on the wall?
And there's dryer vents hanging off.
There is.
Yeah.
And then right next to that is a nice rust stain.
Yeah.
You know, nothing like, you know,
Character.
aging
The
prematurely.
builder tells the homeowners just character, live with it. You know, it's if it doesn't have a little rust,
There you
it
go.
looks too new.
So, you know, and in addition to all this stuff, all the exciting accessories and the interior stuff, the exterior, every project has things you don't plan for, you don't run into. So we do a lot of fabrication as well. We have a complete color flashing line. We can make anything you need, then we can paint it to color match everything else for the project.
Well, that's fantastic. So, do your contractors, can they go online and just mix and match and put things together and do all
Absolutely.
that, and then
Absolutely.
do they order it directly from you?
Tamlyn only sells through distribution.
I see.
All right. So we deal with a lot of the big two-steppers. We deal with all the builder yards, all the supply houses, dealers.
Big box stores, I guess.
We are a vendor for Lowe's, so you can go to the Pro Desk and you can get any of the Tamlyn products you want through the Pro Desk.
But your lumber yard can get them, of course. And then-
Absolutely.
yeah. Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, I'm so pleased that you were able to come and be on the show with us today.
Well, I
It was really
appreciate that.
great. It was great. I love your products. I love family owned businesses. I love to see them just, really hit a home run. And you guys have done it through a lot of hard work and dedication.
A lot of hard work, and the owners are astute businessmen. They've allowed the Tamlyn family to grow, and as a team, we are a family. And they've kept that value, the God and service and country. It's important.
Yeah,
it's how you live. And our motto, everybody's got a big, mission statement and so forth. Well, if you take a big mission statement, want to be a world-class supplier, quality building products, and I can go on for the whole statement. But if you break it down, we've got a statement that's doing it right matters. And that's what it really is all about.
At the end of the day, that's what they all should mean at the end, right?
Yes, sir.
That should be the definition of however long that mission statement is. I used to tell my employees whenever they would get confused, I'd say, well, if you're confused, go read our mission statement. It'll tell you exactly what you need to know and how you need to act.
There you go.
And that's what they're for. Well, I really, really, really do appreciate it. And I'm very proud for the family and for Tamlyn. So
thank you
Alex. So much. Thanks for coming on.
We appreciate coming here and
sure.
Enjoyed it.
We'll do it some more.
Absolutely.
Do it some more. Tom Feret with Tamlyn. And if you want to go on tamlyn.com and you can see what they've got all kinds of fun stuff. Thank you so much for watching the show. Don't forget to subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. We need your help. We want to get a bigger audience so we can do more things. Also, check us out on our LinkedIn at Remodel Revolution on LinkedIn. We need to get that audience built up. And follow us on Facebook. Like us. Tell us you love us. Send us questions. Send me an email if you have a question. Send it to me on Facebook or send it to alex@remodelrev.com. And until next week, this is Alex Guthrie signing off. Have a good, happy 4th of July. Hey, don't forget to follow us on all your social media. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe and share on YouTube. And check us out on all your social media platforms. Don't forget to watch Remodel Revolution on your smart TV, on Texas Weather Tracker TV, on Roku, Android, Apple, and Amazon TV, Sundays at 1 and 3 p.m. Central Standard Time.
The views and opinions of this program are for educational and entertainment purposes only and are not intended to replace the recommendations of a hired professional. You can catch Remodel Revolution anytime. Follow the show on the website, remodelrevolutionradio.com, or on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest, using the handle @Remodel Revolution Radio. You can always listen to the show on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and TuneIn, and watch the show anytime on YouTube.